queer portrait project was a all-ages, queer-centered community art activation series that I was doing to facilitate intergenerational communications and friendships throughout the queer community in Eugene in order to combat the disappearance of queer histories from public and private spaces. What initially inspired me is that I've always really loved art, and I've always used art as an outlet for all of the feelings that I was feeling inside as a young queer and trans person, all of those things that I just couldn't get out in words. Crayons, glue, paint, whatever, it didn't matter. It didn't matter what it looked like, just so long that I could get it out. When I moved here, I moved very far away from my family, and I realized more than ever that I felt very isolated from any kind of like queer role models in my life. I didn't have any older people in my life who I could see myself in or who saw themselves in me. And it didn't even really hit me until I started attending the UO and seeing my professors who were proudly, openly queer and trans, that like I could even visualize queer and trans people growing old and being successful. And so I've kind of had this feeling inside that I wanted to be more in touch with that. And so I ended up taking a really great class by Professor Ernesto Martinez, Radical Self-Love, where he introduced the class to a wonderful book called Claiming Face by Maya Gonzalez, who is an amazing art activist and educator. Claiming Face is a book about uplifting marginalized voices through self-portraiture. And it really, really stuck with me. And then flash forward a year, I'm in Judith Raiskin's class, developing curriculum to get her movie Outliers and Outlaws into like community spaces, to get community involved with viewing and understanding the significance of Outliers and Outlaws. And I just kept on coming back to all of these things that were just kind of like inside of me. Like these people live here, and like they are old people who like I see myself in, who are genuinely wanting to reach out and connect with students. And I was thinking like, how do I make a project where I can do that? And I was like, I love art, I love portraiture. It was very impactful for me. I think that I could make it work. And so I developed this project based off of like all of those different things so that I could selfishly meet people in my community and connect with them. Over the summer, to prepare for my project, I was doing a lot of networking, but also a lot of getting ready to do the actual project, which I had envisioned was going to take place in a community space where I would somehow get community members, specifically queer community members, though it could be allies as well, to come into a community space and paint each other, essentially, is like what is the most bare bones of it. I envisioned this project, and how it did end up going is that I would have folks come in, they would either come with a friend, a partner, or come with like a family member, or even like just be like, hey, I'm showing up alone, I want to meet a stranger, I just want to connect with somebody and meet somebody who's like me. The physical like layout of the room would be these big double-sided easels that I was imagining. And you know, you would sit, one person would sit here, one person would sit here. They couldn't see each other, and they would spend like an hour and a half painting one another. And then at the end, grand reveal, and it would be like really nice and sweet. And so essentially that is what I ended up doing. The first part of it was reaching out to community partners or just like community organizations that I thought would be happy to host an event like that. The second part of this was like, wow, I really want people to sit across from each other on these easels I've imagined, but practically those don't exist except for children. And so I had to build them. So a big part of preparing for this project, my summer activities, was getting together with a group of friends who are also a queer collective of people who want to skill build. And I got them together and I was like, hey, does anybody want to take on this project with me to help me build these easels? I made a poster, put them all over town. I put it online, shared it around, and every single time I had three sessions, they were fully booked. So I was really excited. What was especially impactful to me and meaningful to me was when somebody would come with like their mom or their dad, just like their parent, and bring them into the space and be so vulnerable with them that they would, first of all, come to an event like this. Second of all, be like, I want to paint you and show you how I view you. I wanted the end product and like the writing that might be involved with it to be entirely participant-led, because I wanted it to act as an exhibit that made every person who was making art feel like a true artist. And so at the end of every session, I would have a participant write their name, how they'd like to be identified at least, the title of their art piece, and then a small description of what like the art piece meant to them, which could be like as abstract as they wanted it to be. So when they were displayed at First Friday Art Walk in October, I had them all set up on the easels that we had built. I had all of their little placards there. I also had planned and have made a zine that goes along with it. I was totally blown away by all of the organizations we reached out to being like, yes, please, for free, and also here are some supplies. That was incredibly meaningful to me. And also really made me feel like we are really everywhere and in places that I don't expect. And I really grew to appreciate that about this community. For me, what I took away personally is that I had never taken on a project this big before, and it was very empowering as a young person and as a student to be given so much direction and autonomy with a project like this. I struggled with a lot of self-doubt going into this because I had just never taken on a project this big before. I just felt like my fellowship was very non-traditional, and after this project went so successfully, it really made me realize how much I enjoy being non-traditional and how there are a lot of people out here who really need people to step out of their box in order to make silly and wacky things happen. Otherwise, like, nobody will. And that even if you think that like your idea might seem a little silly compared to other things, that you have to just be like confident in yourself, confident in your ideas, and know that your life experience means something. The funding through the CSWS made everything possible. Even though I had initially budgeted renting studio space and buying supplies and also buying easels, I ended up having incredible luck with, people generously offering me their spaces, offering me supplies, but I still needed to buy a lot of canvas. There were a lot of different times when people would start and be like, I want to start over, and I'd have to buy more. And then it also made possible just like the ability to be able to focus on a project like this full time. This was an amazing like confidence booster, and also an amazing way for me to get involved with the community in a way that I didn't imagine I could before. But I felt that the same amount of vulnerability that I was putting into this process was also shared by the participants who came and like walked in through that door. To the participants, I think it made a huge difference to be able to have access to a space that was free, that was physically accessible, and that was just absolutely ecstatic to have their participation. I think that can go an incredibly long way, especially for community members who are having a hard time getting out there and meeting new people and being in this world like post-COVID, or like at least post-isolation period. All of those third spaces where we used to meet are kind of gone and have also not been tended to like we should have. And I think it is rebuilding trust with those participants and with the community to be able to have a successful event where you are not afraid and you are also not pressured to financially contribute, and you're just like having a good time. And so I think for the community, when you get out there and have a project like this and show it to people who are just passing by, it inspires them to take the initiative to do something that they thought they couldn't do. I had a lot of people come up to me at the exhibit and be like, why are you doing this? Like, not any kind of way, but why would you do this? And I would give them the spiel, well, I'm here because I am in a fellowship, but also because I genuinely care about art, and I care about people, and I care about connection. And I think a lot of people who walked away from those conversations, I would hope, could hold in their hearts that like, if I wanted to do it and I did it and I didn't care who, like, you know, if like whatever anyone felt about it, that they could get out there and do something that fulfilled them as well.